With the Raptors moving on from Gary Trent Jr. in free agency, it has once again opened a hole in Toronto's starting lineup. The other 4 starters for the Raptors seem pretty locked up, with Emmanuel quickly running the point, RJ Barrett as the 2 or the 3, and Scottie Barnes and Jakob Poeltl in the front court. The Raptors haven't come out and said who is getting the last starting spot, but there are a clear few front runners for the job. With the Raptors dealing with injuries and players being in and out of the lineup to end last season, Ochai Agbaji got the chance to start 18 of the last 19 games. Coming into Summer League, it was his chance to really solidify himself as a starter, the job he got the previous season. But just like last season, Agbaji struggled to impact the game at all offensively in Vegas. Agbaji shot 14% from 3 in Summer League, and that is coming off a season where he shot 21% from deep with Toronto and 29% from 3 overall. He did shoot the ball well his last 2 seasons of college, but after a pretty large sample size, he just doesn't seem like a great shooter. And if his shot isn't falling from deep, he doesn't really offer too much offensively. He isn't great at cutting or passing or creating his shot off the dribble. Where Agbaji does shine, why the Raptors traded for him, is because of his defense. Agbaji is a good point of attack defender and brings needed ball pressure to the starting lineup. He's very strong and he can switch 1 through 3 very well. Playing Agbaji means the team can put IQ, Emmanuel Quickly, or RJ Barrett on worse offensive players, and it also lets RJ Barrett be more of a 2 guard than small forward, with Agbaji having the size to play small forward overall. But with Jakob Poeltl being a non-shooter and Scottie and RJ being somewhat shaking from deep, having Agbaji, who is just a complete non-threat from outside, is a very tough sell for the starting lineup. And overall, I don't think Agbaji brings enough defensively to outweigh his weaknesses as an offensive weapon and the overall sink it would have on the starting lineup. The next guy who I think makes the most sense in the starting lineup and sticking with another Kansas Jayhawk is Grady Dick. Grady is just a knockdown shooter. He finished the season shooting 39% from 3 on 5 attempts per game over the last 39 games of the regular season. And for the year, he shot 36% from deep on 4 attempts. That's really good, and for a lineup and a team that has lacked 3-point shooting for so long, having a shooter like Grady Dick could open up the floor for everybody. And unlike some other shooters, Grady Dick can shoot the ball standing still or off the move, running through screens, kind of like Steph Curry. Of course, he's nowhere near that level, but you get the sense. Same type of action, same type of movement, constantly looking to shake his defender off ball and get open from deep. Besides his 3-point shooting, Grady has a pretty good feel for the game offensively. He knows when to cut, when to pass, and when to shoot the ball from the mid-range or when to take it all the way to the rim. That feel for getting open from 3 off ball really comes in handy and is a major bonus to this team's offensive system overall. Darko loves playing 0.5 offense, and Grady Dick really understands how to fit into that system. Plus, at 6'6" and with a 6'9" wingspan, Grady is equipped to guard 3s as well as 2s. He does need to add strength, but at Summer League he did look a little bit bigger, and overall in Vegas, in the short amount of time that we saw him, his overall feel for the game and floor game looked well. Even with that added weight, Grady Dick is going to be targeted defensively, and when you're looking at the rest of the backcourt mates with IQ and RJ Barrett, it is a really tough sell to kind of get that unit to above average or even to solid defensively. When you look at what he brings offensively, I think it outweighs the negatives. I don't think this team is going to be a great defensive unit. Might as well try to go out there and get buckets and develop the youngest guy or one of the youngest guys on the roster with Grady Dick. The last guy who I think has a real chance for taking the starting spot is Bruce Brown. With him still not being traded this far into the offseason, I don't think he's going to get traded. He's going to be on the roster on opening night, and it would make sense for him to start depending on what this team wants to do. Brown is kind of in between Grady and Ochai when it comes to what he brings. Offensively, he can do a lot of the stuff Grady does, just a little bit better, minus the 3-point shooting, which is a major factor, of course. Brown is a great cutter, good passer, and he can create his shot going downhill pretty well. Defensively, he does all the things Ochai does, just a bit better, while giving up just a tiny bit of size at 6'3", 6'4", depending on where you see him listed. Brown will pressure the ball 94 feet. He will switch on a dime, and he will talk a lot on that end and communicate. The problem that I see the most with giving Bruce Brown the starting lineup is he's just not part of this team's long-term future, and it really doesn't make sense to give a 27-year-old guy on a one-year deal starting minutes on a rebuilding team over young guys like Grady Dick and Ochai Agbaji. Brown at 6'4" would pretty much have to play the shooting guard position, and that would slide RJ over to the small forward, and I just don't think that works that well for RJ Barrett. And RJ Barrett is one of the best offensive players on this team. Putting him in position to succeed is not just good for him, but also the overall team unit. I like Brown. I think he's a good player, but he just doesn't make sense to put in the starting lineup, especially over the other options that I've already listed. I think training camp will be a major factor in deciding who earns the last starting spot. Someone like Jonathan Mobo or Jacoby Walter or Jamal Sheed even could really shock the team and really impress this front office, and they could give them the starting unit over someone who's already been with the roster. But if I had to guess, and if I was a gambling man, I would put my money on Grady Dick taking the last starting spot on opening night, and I think he's going to play small forward, moving RJ Barrett to the shooting guard position, and Scotty Barnes as a power forward. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day and take it easy.